Hey, Rebel Rouser. I'm Alan Voivod, and this is Star Wars 7x7. We're at episode number 1551. It is continuing on Resistance Week, and thank you so much for sticking with me on these. Even if Resistance isn't going to be quite your cup of tea, I promise you are still going to get a lot of value out of these episodes. And right now, for today's episode, we're going to talk about the episode synopses that have been released so far. There are 5 of them in total, of which, one of them is for a double episode, episodes 1 and 2, if you will. And they've got a lot of star power already coming into these first episodes. We already know about Gwendolyn Christie, of course, as Captain Phasma. We know about Oscar Isaac as Poe Dameron. We know about BB-8 as BB-8. Just joking about that. But 2 other big names have been announced as well, and we will get to those just a moment from now. But first, let's talk about what's happening with that first episode. It's kicking off with a 2-episode movie. That's what they call it. I don't know why they bother calling it a movie. It's like a 1-hour movie. That's not even a movie, and it's not going to even be an hour with commercials and all that. But quibbling matters. Anyway, The Recruit is a 2-part episode that will kick everything off on October the 7th. And this is when Kazuda Ziono, there you go, who is the X-Wing pilot, who is recruited into this spy mission to be on the refueling platform, the Colossus, out in the middle of nowhere, literally and even more literally, because it's in the middle of an ocean on some random planet, who knows where, and that's in the middle of the Outer Rim somewhere, who knows where at this point. And he is, not keeping a low profile at all. In fact, he's boasting about his flying skills, and that ends up getting him involved in a dangerous race. At least that's how the first couple of episodes are described to us so far. And Oscar Isaac will be in at least one of those episodes, if not the pair of them. Gwendolyn Christie makes her debut in the following episode. That's episode 3, which will premiere on October 14th. That episode is called The Triple Dark, and the brief synopsis we have about it is that Kaz and BB-8 are going to learn of an imminent pirate attack on the refueling station, and they have to do something about it. They have to help prevent it. Why they have to do it? Well, it's just because that's what heroes do, right? So that's what they're going to do. The 4th episode in the series is going to debut on October 21st, and that episode has, maybe in a way the biggest star quality yet. Elijah Wood is actually going to show up in this episode. Yes, none other than Frodo Baggins himself is going to be a voice in Star Wars Resistance. And this character, Jace Rucklin, who's going to be voiced by Wood, is in an episode called Fuel for the Fire, in which Kaz is going to befriend Jace, or Jace is going to befriend Kaz. And then Jace is going to try and use that leverage to get Kaz to steal some hyperfuel from his boss's office, from Yeager's office. Now, the interesting thing about this is that here we go with hyperfuel again, also known as coaxium, which of course was a big part of the plot of Solo: A Star Wars Story. And this is not the first time that hyperfuel has come up, and probably will not be the last. Of course, this is a refueling station, so I suppose you might expect some coaxium to show up here, but I also gather that coaxium is not generally the normal kind of fuel that most ships use. So, how hyperfuel is going to play a part in this whole Colossus refueling station is something that I think is possibly very important to the series. And for all we know, it's going to become an issue with the sequel movies as well. They haven't really talked about hyperfuel, but we do know that the First Order, needing to expand its military might and intending to do so in a matter of weeks, according to Rey in The Last Jedi, that hunt for supplies is going to be rather important to them. And so securing stores of hyperfuel has to be probably one of the First Order's big military goals, I would imagine. And finally, the 5th episode of the show is going to be called The High Tower. And the deal with that episode is that the First Order arrives on the platform, and Kaz and BB-8 want to find out what they're up to, so they have to sneak into some tower to try to find out. Now, I know that Gwendolyn Christie as Captain Phasma is going to appear in the 3rd episode, but apparently it's not until we get to this 5th episode that we're going to see the significant presence of the First Order involved in this show. However, there is one particular presence that has been rumored to be appearing in the show, and at this point, there's no indication that he is going to be showing up in those first episodes, and that is Kylo Ren. We've seen Kylo Ren's command shuttle show up, or at least a command shuttle that looks like his, show up in the previews that we've seen so far, the teasers and whatnot. But as far as Kylo Ren himself goes, there was a rumor kicking around that Adam Driver would potentially be voicing Kylo Ren as a guest appearance on one of these episodes, but so far everything that I have found about that seems to be just that, unsubstantiated rumor and nothing really concrete at all. And the thing about Kylo Ren's voice is that it's, because it's so mechanized, it's readily imitated by some voice actor, some voice impressionist, or some audio double, if you will. Even if it is just somebody talking and then processing it through an audio filter the way that they do with Kylo Ren's voice in the actual movies. Yeah, I find it difficult to believe that they're going to bring in Adam Driver to do that. And, just quite honestly, like, Adam Driver doesn't necessarily seem like, that's something that's going to interest him. I think it would be similar to expecting Harrison Ford to show up and do a Han Solo voice on something, because he would be alive during this time period of Star Wars Resistance, but, I don't really see that happening. Anyway, so that is our breakdown of what to expect from Star Wars Resistance over the first month of its release in October. And that is going to do it for this episode. So thank you very much for joining me for it. And please do subscribe if you're not already, wherever you're catching this episode, to make sure that you get the next one and the next one and the next one delivered automatically to you, automagically, if you will. And I hope you'll consider supporting the podcast too at patreon.com/SW7x7. For now, though, it just remains for me to say thank you so much for joining me again. And may the Force be with you, wherever in the world you may be.
This podcast is not endorsed or sponsored yet by Lucasfilm Limited, Disney, or 20th Century Fox, and is intended for entertainment and information purposes only. Star Wars, the Star Wars logo, all names and pictures of Star Wars characters, vehicles, and any other Star Wars-related items are registered trademarks and/or copyrights of Lucasfilm Limited or their respective trademark and copyright holders. May the Force be with them. All original content is copyright 2018 Star Wars 7x7. We hope you love it.